Well, I think the best thing about IPSC type of shooting is the fact that the courses of fire are always varied. You know, you never shoot the same thing twice.
This kind of shooting is more of a wide open. There are no time limits except for one event here. So the limitations are put on you. It's not a target you have to hit in X amount of time. It's how quick can you hit it.
It's great. I love the challenge, the competition, the camaraderie and all, because we share things back and forth too, like what'd you do here, what'd you do there, and anyone's willing to tell you their little secret.
I really enjoy the IPSC shooting. I like the problem solving that's involved, and I think it's a good sport that when you get there, I don't like matches that you know what they're going to be, because then people, that's sort of won often by the person who has the most time to go out and set it up on their range and practice it over and over. But a lot of people don't have that option or that opportunity, so IPSC is kind of an equalizer, especially when it's a surprise match like this with all kinds of props. You can't do it at home, and you just have to come out and solve the problem and do your best.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lenny McGill. Welcome to the United States Practical Shooting Association's National Championship. This competition draws shooters from all points of the United States and from around the world as well. Today, we're coming to you via video cassette from Barry, Illinois, at one of the most impressive shooting facilities in the world, the Pike Adams Sportsman Alliance. This is truly the nicest range I've ever seen in a beautiful area, well managed by Dick Metcalf and the entire Metcalf family.
The facility right now consists of approximately 25 acres that are ranges established and ready to use. We've added about another 20 acres of new construction this summer so that we can host the United States Practical Shooting Association's National Championships. We expect, on the basis of what we've been told by their board of directors, is that this will become the permanent range site for the IPSC Nationals, and that's our goal in that respect. What we want to do in a larger sense is to create here not just a shooting range, but a shooting park, a place where you can come and have a picnic and bring the family and get the wife and the children as interested in shooting as you may be, and it's a comfortable place for recreation for everyone.
Dick is a true friend of the shooting sports. Look for his column each month in Shooting Times magazine. In case you're wondering, Barry, Illinois is just 300 miles outside of Chicago and only a 20-minute drive from downtown Quincy, Illinois, where most of the shooters stayed. The USPSA Nationals is the culmination of an entire year of shooting, as each of the participants competed in several local matches to qualify for the opportunity to shoot in this event. There are 378 competitors this year, and that should tell you something about the sport of practical pistol shooting. It's growing, and it's growing rapidly. I'll show you how to become a member of the USPSA a bit later in our show, and we'll follow the Super Squad, comprising of the fastest, most accurate pistol shooters alive, as they go through the paces of the USPSA National Championships. The Super Squad is made up of the cream of the cream of the crop of the world's pistol shooters. They've been grouped together in Squad 24. It includes, among others, Rob Leatham, four-time winner of this event and considered the best pistol shooter in the world and possibly of all time. Tom Campbell. He's been around since the sport was invented, and he still finishes in the top 10 every time. Jerry Barnhart. He just won the Steel Challenge and the Speed event at the Masters. This guy is fast. Brian Enos. Quietly, Brian Enos is in the top 5 at every match. Rick Castello. He's a federal agent and says he doesn't get to practice much. One look at his shooting, and I'm sure you'll agree, it's good to have him on our side. Frank Garcia. He owns and operates a gun store in Florida and is certainly, in my opinion, the most improved shooter of the year. The Super Squad was scheduled to shoot match 8, double-duty standards on Tuesday. Usually, the standards are somewhat mundane. However, the events that occurred ended up setting the tempo of the entire match. This footage was provided by Mike McPheeters of KHQA-TV in Quincy, Illinois. It shows a confident Rob Leatham going through the first phase of match 8. 6 shots, 2 per target at 3 turning targets, 50 yards downrange. Then disaster. The same shooting sequence from the kneeling position, and Leatham can't even get a shot off. 6 no-hits right off the bat. Next round, same deal from the prone position. Count his shots. Only 5, so he racks up another no-hit. Is Leatham doomed from the start? Now, from 25 yards with a strong hand only. No apparent problems. Next, with the weak hand. Leatham has a jam again and registers another no-hit. That's a total of 8, and I'm sure he just can't believe it. The final phase. Shoot 3 shots, reload, and shoot 3 more. A bit more difficult, and Robbie Leatham comes to life just like back home. So to wrap up Match 8 double-duty standards, first place goes to Jerry Barnhart. Second, Rick Castello. Third, Brian Enos. Frank Garcia is fourth, and rounding out the top 5, Colin Am. Robbie Latham's on a catch-up trail from the start, and I'll show you how he does as the action of the USPSA Nationals from the PASA shooting facility in Barry, Illinois, heats up from here. The Super Squad is scheduled to shoot Stage 1, Jungle Gym. By now, the word is spread and everybody at the match has heard about and or commented on Latham's unfortunate ammo problems. Some claim it was the .38 Super Ammo Leatham uses, loaded too hot to make the power factor. A crowd has gathered to see the Super Squad tackle one of the most difficult, if not imaginative, courses of fire. Jungle Gym is set up like a house, very realistic and practical in design. Here's Bill Rogers from Team Safariland. Bill is one of the nicest guys on the shooting circuit. He's cool, calm, and collected, and his shooting shows just that. Rogers posts a cool 30.95 seconds for that run. Next shooter, Brian Enos, who's from Mesa, Arizona, who also won the Bianchi Cup in 1983 and holds several shooting records, including 505 Bianchi-style plates in a row. Enos finishes with a fast 27.13 seconds. Now, in case you're wondering, here's what the shooters are facing. They've got 5 banks of targets at distances from 10 to 25 yards. Mostly 2 targets and a plate, except through the door, just 2 targets. There's lots of no-shoot targets everywhere, and visibility is extremely limited. Back to live action with Chip McCormick, who's from Texas and operates Shooting Stars Industries. Chip won the Steel Challenge in 1986 and is featured on Pistol Masters, one of the finest pistol instruction videotapes available. Here he is in Match 1, Jungle Gym. Chip McCormick registers 26.95 seconds, the fastest time yet.
How do you prepare for an event like this? It's different. You don't know what the course of fire is going to be. What do you do?
Lenny, you go to your basics. And the basics, once you have your grip, your stance, and your side picture and your trigger pull down, you go practice anything you can think of. What really helps is experience. You can't expect to come to one of these matches, especially the national level event, your first time, and really be fully prepared. You need to come to these matches and see the type of things they can throw at you. And then you can go home and really make a good deduction of the type of practice you should set up for yourself. Some people are a lot stronger in their long-range shooting. They may be weaker in their short range. They'll find that out here. Next year they'll know what to go practice. Strong hand, weak hand. So as I say, you need to attend once just so you know how to go home and prepare for the next one.
Shooting next, Rick Castello. He's smooth, isn't he? Time, 26.77 seconds. A full 0.18 seconds faster than Chip McCormick. So that puts him in first place at this time. Next up, winner of the standards, Jerry Barnhart. Jerry can move pretty fast. His time, 27.81 seconds. And our last shooter at this stage, Rob Leatham. This is one of the reasons the crowd has gathered. The pressure's got to be on. He knows he's got to perform here to save face and to have a chance to win, much less place in this championship. Wow, that's an incredible 24.09 seconds, a full 2.68 seconds faster than the next man, which is going to put Rob Leatham in first place at match number 1, Jungle Jim. Here's that run again in slow motion. A look at the final scoreboard for match 1, Leatham first, Chip McCormick second, Rick Castello third, Jerry Barnhart fourth, and Paul Miller fifth. Brian Enos finished 10th, and Bill Rogers placed 18th. Later that day in what they call Practical Valley at the Paso Range, Squad 24 took on Stage 2, Stretch Limo, a course of fire right out of Miami Vice. You're the bodyguard in the limo with your gun and your briefcase. At the signal to fire, you go for your firearm and engage 3 paper targets at the left side window, reload and engage 2 paper targets and 2 steel plates out the right side. The second phase of this event has you shooting over the top out of the so-called sunroof. 4 paper targets and 4 steel knockdowns, shoot in any order you want, as many shots as you want, fastest, most accurate wins. Our first shooter in Squad 24 is Frank Garcia, who's from Miami, Florida. Garcia finishes phase 1 of this event with a fast 8.06 seconds. He owns and operates a gun store in Miami, Florida, and makes a point to get out and practice his shooting skills.
Well, basically, I practice the same as an IPSC course. For example, an IPSC course, you never know what you're going to get into until you get to the match. So every day, I shoot a different type of course with steel plates. For example, maybe one day I shoot weak hand or strong hand only 10, 15-yard plates. Then the next day I'll shoot 25-yard one-shot draws or 2-shot draws, and I change it every day to where it gives you a little bit better skill in the whole picture of shooting.
Frank Garcia finishes up phase 2 at 7.87 seconds. Next shooter is Roberta Gear, one of the most improved women shooters of the year. she's gotten a lot better and it shows, finishing with a time of 11.85 seconds. Now here's phase 2. Roberta Gear times in with a comfortable 12.95 seconds. Now let's get ready to smoke because our next shooter is the winner of the 1987 Steel Challenge and the action event of the 1987 Masters, Jerry Barnhart. Phase 1 times at 9.10 seconds. Barnhart recently quit his job as an electrician so he can devote full time to competition shooting and personal shooting instruction. Jerry Barnhart finishes phase 2 with 8.91 seconds. Next up is Rob Leatham, who made up a little bit of his deficit with an excellent run on Jungle Jim. Now that's a good time for phase 1 at 8.55 seconds. Here he is at phase 2. Leatham has a bit of trouble on that one with a time of 9.01 seconds. Our next shooter is Latham's Arizona neighbor and shooting partner, Brian Enos, at phase 1. That's an excellent time. In fact, that's the fastest of the day at 6.35 seconds. Let's look at that again in slow motion replay. Back to live action, Enos at phase 2 of Stretch Limo. Another excellent time of 6.76 seconds. Our final shooter at this event is J. Michael Plaxco, who won the USPSA Nationals in 1982 and the Steel Challenge in the same year. He finishes phase 1 with a fast time of 7.15 seconds, second fastest today. Plaxco is both an excellent IPSC gunsmith and instructor. For more information, he can be reached at Route 1, Box 23, Roland, Arkansas, 72135. Now, here's phase 2 for J. Michael Plaxco. Another good run for Plaxco with a time of 7.33 seconds. As you know, this is a Comstock match, so the score is divided by the time to give the relative scores. Highest score wins, and it looks like J. Michael Plaxco will indeed place in the first with a score of 7.5975. Frank Garcia second at 7.5227. Rick Byfield third, fourth Tom Campbell, Rick Castello fifth, Enos sixth, Rob Leatham 16th, and Jerry Barnhart 20th. So at the end of day 2, it's still anybody's match as the action continues from the USPSA National Championships. The Super Squad is shooting early this morning. They're assigned to shoot Stage 3, Parking Garage, which has 2 phases. Let's join the shooters and the head range officer going over the important safety guidelines.
Do not load a magazine into a holstered firearm. Sight pictures will be permitted only with an unloaded firearm. If you hear freeze, immediately stop shooting, place your safety on, keep your muzzle downrange, and await further instructions from the RO. If you hear muzzle downrange, finger out, or safety, continue the course of fire while obeying the commands. Your finger must be out of the trigger guard during all movement. Eye and ear protection is mandatory, and we will ask that you please come to the line fully prepared to shoot the course.
Safety is the first consideration when participating in an IPSC-style competition. If you're involved in a local match, please make sure it's a safe match. Phase 1 of Parking Garage has our first shooter, Rick Castello, sitting in a chair reading a newspaper, and at the sound of the tone, rising to the window to engage 8 steel pepper poppers and 2 paper targets. The fun part is that you're shooting around cars and through car windows, and hence the name of this event, Parking Garage. Phase 2 has Castello starting in the standing position with hands on the windowsill. At the sound of the tone, going into the prone position so as to be shooting underneath a car, and engaging 6 paper targets, most of these underneath other cars downrange. Castello finishes with times of 14.02 seconds and 12.20 seconds for Phase 1 and Phase 2, respectively. Our next shooter is Tom Campbell. As I said earlier, Tom Campbell is one of the finest shooters around, and he's been shooting since the sport evolved. Here he is at Phase 1 of Parking Garage. That's a bit slow for Tommy Campbell at 17.91 seconds. Here's Phase 2. And he speeded that one up with a time of 11.97 seconds. Our next shooter is a guy who doesn't get a lot of publicity, but he sure can shoot. He's a member of the United States IPSC team, and he places high in most major competitions. Here's John Dixon. Hey, that's a good time for Phase 1, 14.55 seconds. Now here's Phase 2. .54 seconds puts John Dixon in the top 8 up until now. Here's our next shooter, Judy Smith. That's a respectable time of 23.03 seconds. Earlier in the day, I asked Judy Smith about women in IPSC-style shooting.
Well, first of all, I think she needs a real patient coach. Fortunately, I have one. My husband has a lot of patience with me, and I've seen some that aren't so fortunate. You got to stick with it. You know, make up your mind you're going to do good at it, and just practice as much as you can.
Now, back to Phase 2 with Judy Smith. Judy Smith closes out with a time of 19.02 seconds. J. Michael Plaxco is the next shooter on the line. Here he is at Phase 1 of Parking Garage. That's about the third fastest time we've seen today, 14.92 seconds. Now here's Phase 2. Another excellent time of 11.65, the fastest at Phase 2 yet. Plaxco seems to be in the lead, but he's got to answer to our next shooter, Jerry Barnhart. Barnhart, in my opinion, is the fastest shooter alive. His reflexes and physical skill are amazing, and his concentration is unmatched. times in with a blazing 10.95 seconds on phase 1. Now here he is at phase 2. It seems he had a little bit of trouble with the smoke in his eyes, but that's still the fastest time yet at 10.33 seconds. So here we go, looking at the final scoreboard for Stage 3 Parking Garage. Jerry Barnhart easily takes first place, Peter Dayton second, Chip McCormick third, J. Michael Plaxco fourth, Rick Castello fifth. Coming up, we'll be off to an evening in Beirut as the Super Squad advances to Stage 4. But first, here's the president of the USPSA, Dave Stanford, and the treasurer, his wife, Marilyn Stanford.
What goes into putting a match like this together?
Many hundreds and thousands of hours, Lenny. It's just, we have a staff of about 25 people here, plus 30 people from the PASA organization, and all of them are working full-time, and there's probably been 300 hours in preparation before the match even begins. So it's a lot of work and a lot of time. To say what it does, I could be here for quite a while. We've got more shooters than ever before this year, and more rounds and more matches involved in the national championships. I've been hearing a lot of the shooters say they're very tough courses, but they really like it.
Well, tough is the name of the game. You can't make it easy. You got to make it hard.
Well, that's right. It has to be a test of both the top shooters in the nation, actually the top shooters in the world, and yet the lower ability shooters are able to complete most of the courses and feel that they have actually had a chance to do some shooting.
What do you think of this year's competition so far?
It's hard. I was talking to Tommy Campbell, and even he said the standards, it was pushing them. So it's probably one of the hardest we've had.
The wind has picked up considerably this afternoon, and that's sure to have some impact on the shooter's performance. This is Stage 4, called Evening in Beirut. The concept of this event has the shooter sleeping in a bed in an apartment in some hostile environment, and at the sound of the tone, jumping up in a safe manner and engaging 3 targets through the first window at relatively close distance. Run to the doorway, open and engage 1 paper target at approximately 15 yards, advance to the 2 side windows and engage a total of 4 targets, and then to the end of the hall and knock off the steel 6-inch stop plate. It looks easy, but it's not. That was Frank Garcia with a time of 19.03 seconds. Now here's our next shooter, Rick Castello. That's a good time of 21.38 seconds. In case you're wondering what the shooter is facing, we had our cameraman run through the course. Notice the abundance of no-shoot targets. Like I said, these guys make it look easy. Rick Byfield is our next shooter. I don't know much about this guy, but he's definitely a top-notch shooter as demonstrated by his excellent time of 19.07 seconds. Here's our next shooter, Betsy Scott. Betsy had some ammo feeding problems and times in with a disappointing 38.73 seconds. Here's another woman shooter, Christy Rogers, who is the wife of Bill Rogers. Christie completes an evening in Beirut with a clean time of 25.25 seconds. Now here's Robbie Leatham as he faces stage 4 at the USPSA National Championships. That should give you an idea why Leatham is one of the best shooters in the world. He times in at 18.16 seconds, the fastest yet.
Do you practice for the IPSC style shooting a little differently than you do for the others?
Yeah, you do, because for an IPSC match, especially one like this, it was a surprise match. We didn't know coming in what we were going to do. So as a consequence, you practice general type of skills as opposed to the specific match you're going to shoot. At Bianchi, we know exactly what we're going to do before we get there, so we practice the exact event. Here we don't know, so we'll practice basic, techniques, the draws and reloads, double taps, different target distances. We don't set things up like this because we don't know exactly what we're going to have.
Right. So you get here on, say, Tuesday or Monday night, and you get the book, and you go over the book. Do you also get a chance to try to figure your strategy out there?
Yeah, we do. At the shooters meeting, when they get to course of fire, everybody spends Monday evening looking the thing over, trying to figure out where they're going to do their reloads and which order they want to shoot the targets in, because it's not specified. They just give you the targets and say you shoot them. And the rest is all left up to you. So you'll see different strategies. Not everybody will do it the same. And that's what makes it exciting, because it's not, one clone after another. It's like very individual. Exactly.
Yeah. Leatham owns and operates the Leatham Shooting Institute. For information about classes, contact Rob at P.O. Box 1291, Mesa, Arizona 85201. Next up, here's Tommy Campbell, Smith & Wesson's Top Gun. That's a respectable time of 19.68 seconds. Finally, here's Jerry Barnhart, our current overall leader. Time was 21.10 seconds. As you can see, Jerry had a bit of trouble with the wind and the door, so upon protest, he was able to reshoot and scored a considerably faster time, which helped put Jerry Barnhart in second place at this stage. First goes to Todd Jarrett from Squad 22, Doug Koenig third, Frank Garcia fourth, Rob Leatham fifth, Rick Byfield seventh, Tom Campbell 10th, and Rick Castello 24th. Yesterday it was windy. Today it's not only windy, it's cold. Below freezing last night. This is the last and most important day of the competition. 3 different stages will be shot between now and 4 p.m., and they will literally decide who wins the championship. The pressure is starting to mount as the shooters prepare to face Stage 5, Bop Bop Bing 2. Chris Everett is the Chief Range Officer. He preps the shooters on the course of fire and the ever-present safety considerations.
Primary goal is safety. Secondly, to assist you through the course of fire. I'm a competitor and I want you to have a successful shoot. I want to point out a few safety aspects and then we'll get into the course description. First of all, you've heard it before over the past 3 days, but do not load a magazine into a holstered firearm. Is that clear? Okay. Sight pictures are permitted only with an unloaded firearm. Because of this, on this stage, we will not take a sight picture on Stage 6. I will reload you in the box on Stage 5. You will stay hot coming over here to Stage 6. We'll sit down and do it. Any questions about that? If you hear freeze, immediately stop shooting. Place your safety on, keep your muzzle down range, and wait to hear some more from me. If it's some sort of problem that we have, something falling down, somebody appearing on the top of the berm, by some incredible chance or something of that nature, you'll get a reshoot. Okay? If it's your problem, we'll talk about it. Eye and ear protection is mandatory on this range. I've caught a couple of fragments myself over the past few days. Keep your glasses on, please. They only issued us one pair. I will ask you to come to the line fully prepared to shoot both stages of fire. Minimum of 4 magazines. Any questions about that general?
Thank you, Chris Everett. Now, let's get started with Stage 5, Bop Bop Bing 2, and our first shooter, Jerry Barnhart. At this time, Jerry is the overall leader. A good run here could seal up a national championship. Time is 9.13 seconds. That's a great time, but I think he may have hit a couple of no-hit targets, and that's definitely going to affect his score. Here's Christy Rogers as she faces Stage 5, Bop Bop Bing 2. I had a chance to talk with Christy about her participation in the shooting sports.
It's really growing. They had to turn, this is the first nationals, I believe, that they had to actually turn people away. There were more people that wanted to shoot it than could. And I was real pleased to see the number of women. About 10% or more of the shooters were women in this one. And used to be they had the women's match just to try to get women to be in the match. But now they're getting the slots from their own clubs because they're doing well enough.
Had to turn some women away, right?
Probably did. Some of the ones in the ladies' match, they didn't have enough slots for them.
Now here's a new shooter on the circuit, and destined to be a good one. From Pipersville, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, and shooting a Beelert Precision 38 Super, 19-year-old Doug Koenig. He had a bad run there. Time is 10.08 seconds. But remember that name, I'll bet he finishes in the top 25. Okay, back to the Super Squad. Here's John Sale.
Reload.
Time is 8.72 seconds. Next up, Tommy Campbell. It may be cold, but Campbell's getting hot. Take a look at that reload in slow motion. You won't see a smoother transition. His time, 9.21 seconds. Okay, here's Mr. Brian Enos. Quiet, confident Brian Enos. At the game, he knows best to stand up and blast. Wow, what a time. He blows everybody away with a time of 8.03 seconds. He's in first place now, but our next shooter is Robbie Latham. Let's see what he can do at Bop Bop Bing 2. Well, there it is. Another reason why Latham is one of the top shooters in the world today. Time, 7.93 seconds, and let's see that again in slow motion. Wrapping up Bop Bop Bing 2, Jerry Barnhart got himself into trouble and doesn't even place in the top 25, which may even the gap between he and Latham, because Latham takes first place in Stage 5. Enos second, Tom Campbell third, John Sale fourth, and Larry Spain fifth. Stage 6, named One for the Money, is run immediately after Stage 5 on the same range. I've divided it up to be able to show you more competitors. This event has the shooter starting seated in a chair. At the signal to begin, you may stand or stay seated and engage 6 paper targets and 2 steel plates in any order. The targets are very limited by hostage no-hit targets, as you can see in this shooter's eye perspective. Let's get started with our first shooter, John Sale. Sale's been participating in the shooting sports for many years.
USPSA, I'm a delegate to the World Assembly, and when I talk with the other countries around the world, when we meet in World Conference, they all come to us for guidance because the U.S. really seems to have the strongest program. The sport has focused on it. The briefing really tells what's going on here. They say we're here to help you have a safe shoot and a good shoot, and the focus is on safety because without that our sport could be in serious trouble. So the board is very cognizant of the mandate for safety, and the range officers we have, my gracious, without them we wouldn't have a sport, and I think most shooters are cognizant of that and most appreciative of it.
Are you ready? Stand by.
John Sale finishes stage 6 with a time of 9.71 seconds. Next up is Tommy Campbell, who's shooting very well today. He must like this cold weather. Nice time at 9.55 seconds. Now here's Rick Byfield, who has an unusual way of shooting this event. Byfield stays seated and comes up with a time of 9.41 seconds. Okay, now let's see how Robbie Leatham does at stage 6. One for the money.
Unload, show clear.
That's the best time yet at 8.42 seconds. It's getting faster now because here's Jerry Barnhart. Jerry runs into trouble with a time of 9.91 seconds. Rick Castello is our next shooter. Here he is at stage 6. That's an excellent time of 8.78 seconds. Now our final shooter, Frank Garcia. Frank is really moving. Here's that run in slow motion replay. His time, an incredible 7.79 seconds, which gives Frank Garcia first place at stage 6. Second place to Rick Castello. Tom Campbell third, Rob Leatham fourth, Ross Dean 5th, Rick Byfield placed 10th, and John Sale 25th. Once again, Jerry Barnhart doesn't even place in the top 25. It was late in the afternoon when Squad 24 was scheduled to shoot its last and final match of the championship. It was cold and windy and dry, and here we were at stage 7, El Paraiso Barracks. This event is not only creative, it may also be one of the most difficult in the entire match. It involves 11 paper targets and 3 knockdown plates. Our first shooter is Bill Rogers. That's a good time of 25.84 seconds. Now here's his beautiful wife, Christy Rogers, shooting next. Another good time from a quality shooter, 30.36 seconds. J. Michael Plaxico is our next shooter at what appears to be a rather fun event to shoot. That's a good time of 24.56 seconds for J. Michael Plaxco. Here's Roberta Gear, one of the happiest shooters at the Nationals, and she's shooting next at El Paraiso Barracks. She had a bit of a problem with the entry plate. Roberta's time is 38.83 seconds. Next up, Frank Garcia. Wow, that's a great run of 24.05 seconds, the fastest yet. Let's see that again in slow motion replay. Notice the double tap as he runs by the first target. Almost sounds like one shot. Back to live action. Here's Brian Enos.
Stand by.
Nice time for Brian at 24.85 seconds. Rob Leatham is our next shooter at the last and final stage of the USPSA Nationals, Stage 7, El Paraiso Barracks. Leatham smokes it with a time of 22.89 seconds. He's made quite a comeback and may possibly have taken first place overall with that run. But first, our last competitor has got to shoot, and that's Jerry Barnhart. A good run here, and he'll be our winner. A drop shot, and he might hand it over to Rob Leatham. Jerry Barnhart does it, 22.02 seconds, the fastest time of the day and of the entire match. Here it is again in slow motion replay. So, looking at the top 5 for Stage 7 El Paraiso Barracks, Jerry Barnhart places first, Robbie Latham second, Doug Evanek third, Chip McCormick fourth, and Don Berger fifth. Plaxco finished 12th, Enos 13th, and Frank Garcia placed 18th. Combining this event with the overall scores, it looks like Chip McCormick placed 5th overall, Brian Enos 4th, Rob Latham 3rd overall, Rick Castello 2nd, and first place in the USPSA National Championship goes to Jerry Barnhart.
You got to feel good. Has it sunk in yet?
It's starting to. I guess the greatest thing about it is that I did what I set out to do. and I did it with a 45.
Coming up, the top 16 men and the top 8 women compete in the speed event. But first, here's Dave and Marilyn Stanford with more on how you can join the USPSA and what comes along with your membership.
The United States Practical Shooting Association, shorted to USPSA, is the IPSC shooting within the United States. We have an office at P.O. Box 811, Cedro Woolley, Washington, 98284. Anybody can drop us a line. We'll send them a brochure that explains IPSC shooting, and any member will let them know where the nearest clubs are in their area. And we've got approximately 300 clubs scattered across the United States. There are some areas where we don't have any clubs, and we'd sure be interested in starting them. So if this looks like fun and somebody would like to get involved, we'll be glad to work with anyone interested in doing it or starting a club. We do have some literature and material to assist people in that. And
what services are provided with your IPSC membership or your USPSA membership?
Okay. Essentially, you're able to be classified at a national basis. If you're competing actively in your clubs, you can earn slots to the nationals through the local clubs. You can also compete in area championships and earn slots to the nationals. We do provide a rule book. We do provide a front site, which is a national magazine that goes out to all the USPSA members and all the 30 countries that are involved. So this magazine is a part of their membership. Membership is only $20.
Is that on an annual basis?
That's an annual basis, yes, sir. The sport is growing. In 1985, we had 1,576 members. Now we have right at 5,000 members currently. That's quite a bit of growth. In order to shoot above your club level, you need to be a member, but at the club level, you don't have to be a member. So we've identified well over 10,000 active competitors. So we've got about half of the active competitors are members, and these are people that want to shoot above the club level and also want to be kept involved and informed through Front Sight of what is going on in the nation and actually in the world.
The speed event is held on Saturday morning, and for a number of reasons is the most well-attended stage of the entire competition. It's a very exciting spectator event, pitting shooter against shooter in double elimination shoot-offs. This event resembles the Flying M event, where the shooter must knock a tin can or a block of wood off of a post before drawing and engaging the steel knockdown targets, which are 4 standard-sized IPSC pepper poppers and 1 half pepper popper and a 6-inch stop plate. A mandatory reload is performed before engaging the stop plate. Now here's our first match at the women's shoot-off. Debbie James and Carrie Lathwell, who's from Canada. Lathwell is the current IPSC Women's World Champion and, of course, the Canadian Women's Champion. She was the #1 woman shooter in this competition and placed 129th overall. But because she is from Canada and not a member of the USPSA, her score doesn't participate in the USPSA standings. She's an excellent shooter, as you'll see here, against another fine shooter, Debbie James.
Numerous range rounds were fired at the stop plate.
What a finish. The crowd loves it. Debbie James won, Carrie Lathwell 0. Debbie's from Bristol, Connecticut, and finished as the women's USPSA national champion by being the top American woman, placing 151st overall.
Routes are even. Gary's time, 8.46. Debbie's time, 9.47. This will be the final run, and they will switch sides.
Lathwell's back in form. It's 1 round each.
Winner of the match, Debbie James, with a time, new fastest time, 8.07.
All right, Debbie James takes it with a lot of support from the pro-American crowd. She'll advance to the finals against Christy Rogers. Winner here is the speed event champion.
First round. run goes to Debbie James. Her time was 10.34. Christy Rogers, 14.83.
They'll be shooting the best out of 5 because it's the final match.
Stand by.
Winner for the second run is Debbie James, time 8.98. Christy's time 9.38.
Debbie James is getting hot. It's now 2-0.
Stand by.
Reload. Christy's time 9.28. Debbie's time 10.75.
Okay, the pressure's on. Debbie James 2, Christy Rogers 1.
Stand by.
Unloading. Winner of the match, ladies shoot-off champion Debbie James. Fastest time of the day, 8.03.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Here's Debbie James, the women's USPSA national champion.
Did you expect to win?
No, I had a goal, a personal goal. It's just all self-fulfillment, and my personal goal was to come out here and not miss one shot on a target. And if I could finish in the top 5, I was pretty happy with that. And as it was, I had met 2 of those goals, and anything beyond that was just like putting whipped cream on top of a pumpkin pie.
Okay, back to shooting with the semifinals of the men's speed event shoot-off. Now here's our next match, featuring Rob Leatham, who of course finished 3rd, and Paul Miller, who placed 8th overall. Latham comes out flying. Here's round 2. Looked like Paul Miller had some type of ammo problem, so Latham takes it easily. That means that Rob Latham will face Jerry Barnhart, gun to gun, to determine the winner of the speed event shoot-off. Here are the top 2 IPSC-style shooters in the world today.
Well, that was kind of quick. 6.74 seconds for Mr. Latham. 7 seconds for Mr. Barnhart.
Now here we go with round 2. The crowd is really enjoying this match.
6.43 for Mr. Leatham. Second run to Mr. Leatham, 6.74 for Mr. Barnhart.
So it's Latham 2 and Barnhart 0.
Stand by.
Third run to Mr. Leatham. A straight 3 runs. Mr. Latham is the 1987 shoot-off champion.
Robbie Latham takes it. Let's see that again in slow motion replay.
With a time of 6.29 seconds.
And that's the way it was from Barry, Illinois, and the Pike Adams Sportsman Alliance, better known as PASA. For more information on this range and its facilities, contact Dick Metcalf at Route 1, P.O. Box 1, Barry, Illinois, 62312, or call the phone number on the screen, 217-335-7040. I would like to personally thank Dick Metcalf and all the people of PASA, Barry, Illinois, and Quincy, Illinois. Plus, the sponsors of these matches are very important. Please support them and buy their products. I also want to thank all of the shooters, the range officials, and of course you for watching this tape. I'm Lenny McGill. Stay tuned for a preview of some other exciting programs you may be interested in. Till next time, goodbye. Welcome to Rock and Roll #1, fully automatic machine gun fun. In this program, we'll look at automatic weapons from around the world, including the Beretta P12S from Italy, the Colt M16 from the United States, from Israel, the Uzi 9mm, the Russian AK-47, the Ingram MAC-10. It's all here, plus lots more, so sit back and get ready to rock and roll.
Stand by. Ready.
What's it like to be known as the fastest, most accurate pistol shooter alive? Only one man knows for sure. Rob Leatham of Mesa, Arizona. Today, he's putting that reputation on the line because as this exciting 4-stage pistol competition unfolds, he'll be challenged by more than 200 of the best pistol shooters in the world, all competing for $150,000 in cash and prizes as the 1985 National Rifle Association's Bianchi Cup gets underway.
Well, we have 5 events. It's all on steel targets. Each course is different from the next. Every shooter shoots a total of 5 courses of fire, or 5 stages, and they throw out their worst event. Again, we're trying to promote speed. We want to get that, let it all hang out type of an atmosphere. And this way, if you have a disaster run, a gun malfunction, or the shooter just simply doesn't do well one time, that's out of his head and he can keep on pushing for a better score.
That's Mike Fitchman, who along with Mike Dalton developed the course of fire you're about to see. Described in 2 words, it's speed and steel. Because today, more than 250 of the world's fastest and most accurate pistol shooters compete against the clock and themselves as the 1984 Steel Challenge World Speed Shooting Championship gets underway. Soldier of Fortune magazine presents the 1984 Soldier of Fortune Convention. In this videotape, we'll take you rappelling down the side of a 14-story building, racing through the desert on the Warrior fast attack vehicle. And here's something new and different this year, pugil stick competitions. Plus you'll see all phases of the Soldier of Fortune 3-gun combat match with pistol, rifle, and shotgun. The latest weapons demonstrated by the manufacturers themselves. New products at the Military Arms and Collectors Show. Speakers including Soldier of Fortune magazine publisher Robert K. Brown, Major General J.K. Singlov, and Afghan freedom fighter Hassan Galandi. And of course, more of what's made the Soldier of Fortune Convention what it is today. The sport of combat shooting is not new. While the Southwest Pistol League is generally credited with starting the competition aspect of combat shooting, the roots stretch back to the training of Union soldiers during the Civil War. The military has been utilizing combat methods since the introduction of the 1855 rifle musket, the first military rifle with precision sights. Military training consisted of both rifle and handgun practice. And although law enforcement agencies such as the FBI have been using the shotgun in training and on duty, combat shotgun competitions have only been introduced in the last decade. The popularity of such events, such as the Steel Challenge, which has its own separate shotgun match, has brought the shotgun into mainstream combat shooting. One of the consistent top contenders in the shooting sports is John Shaw. Shaw has won more major tournaments and finished consistently higher than any other combat shooter in the world. His victories include the 1980 and 1981 IPSC National Championships, gold medals in the International IPSC Championships, and 5 consecutive Soldier of Fortune Shotgun Championships. His speed and accuracy have earned him the title of the fastest shotgun in the world. When not competing and not practicing, he also teaches combat shooting to law enforcement personnel, military personnel, and civilians at his own Mid-South Institute of Self-Defense Shooting, MISS, which he founded in 1982. He has also written 2 books on shooting, Shoot to Win and You Can't Miss. John Shaw recently conducted a shotgun seminar at the 1986 Steel Challenge. Here are the highlights of that seminar. The interest in practical shooting has grown dramatically over the past several years. Names such as Rob Leatham, Brian Enos, John Shaw, and many more have become known worldwide in the households of many shooters. Hello, I'm Lenny McGill. Over the past several years, I've been producing videotapes for the shooting industry. In particular, the firearms-related pistol competitions known as the Steel Challenge and the Bianchi Cup. Now, at these tournaments, I've had the opportunity to interview some of the best pistol shooters in the world. We talked about their techniques, their stance, their trigger pull, their practice methods, even the type of guns they use. This tape is a compilation of those interviews. It's called Pistol Masters. So whether you're a beginning shooter or an accomplished shooter and been shooting for a while, I'm sure that you're going to be able to learn something from the best pistol shooters in the world. So, without any further delay, let's get started in what I like to call Pistol Masters.